New podcasts are up now.
Richie V, you're on the air with the nation.
This is America with Rich Valdes.
We need to restore balance.
Download and subscribe. OGPodcastNetwork.com.
All right, America, this is Rich Valdes. We are 17 floors above Madison Square Garden here in New York City at Stage 17 at the legendary WABC Radio. That's Talk Radio 77 WABC, where New York comes to talk. I am Rich Valdes. This is America, and today our special guest, good friend of the program, has me on his show quite often. John Tabacco is the vice president of T0 division, which was a division of Overstock.com. He's a Wall Street entrepreneur. He's also the host of Liquid Lunch TV every day from noon to 1 o'clock live on Newsmax TV in 75 million homes across America. John Tabacco, host of Liquid Lunch TV, welcome to the program.
Rich, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to return the favor and come back on your show and talk to your audience at This is America like you talk to our audience at Liquid Lunch. And as you know, on Liquid Lunch, we try to create a forum where all voices are heard. We have on Democrats, we have on Republicans, we have independents. We hash it out, we fight it out, we talk it through. But the thing about Liquid Lunch is it's a place where you could have thoughtful conversation, and we all agree going in. At the end, we're going to shake hands, we're going to part friends, and all voices are heard. So I'm glad, as always, to have you on our show.
Salud.
Yeah, and of course we do a little Cuestión tequila any chance we get, because that's one of our title sponsors of the show.
Yeah, and something John says a lot on Liquid Lunch is that it's time to get to the purple people. And while I think there are a lot of people that are purple in the respect of some of their political issues favor the red team, the Republicans, and some of their political issues favor the blue team, which is the Democrats, there's always those gray areas. So I think it's really important that you do address the purple people, so to speak. But I think when you're doing an excellent job moderating the show, talking about the news of the day, one of the things that I think either audience doesn't get enough of is your background. And you give the updates on Wall Street, but there's so much more depth to your background. And I, as a former vice president of T0, which is a subsidiary or a division of Overstock.com, there was a lot that you did with introducing blockchain and moving forward with crypto eventually, and I'd like to get into that. But tell us a little bit about your background and how the role that you played with T0.
So, Rich, for the last 25 years, I've been pounding the pavements of the downtown canyons of Wall Street. You know, Broad Street, Wall Street, Broadway. Been doing the Wall Street slog for almost a quarter century now, just a little over a quarter century. And I've always been someone that was, I was raised by blue-collar parents in Staten Island. My dad was a New York City cop. My mom was a private investigator. Now she runs a women's organization called the World of Women. Our parents always taught us, to be hardworking, to be patriotic, to hear all voices, to dream big, to go after everything. And working on Wall Street got me into a mindset coming from a family where my dad was a cop, and I was the first guy in my family to go to college. Got me into this mindset that I could do bigger things than I even knew I could do. And my parents always told me that. So I always try to expand my brain, try to understand and learn more things. I spent about 15 years widely recognized by the U.S. government and many of the major regulatory agencies as a subject matter expert in short selling, which many people out there don't know, but I was the founder of a company called LocateStock.com, which is the first of its kind to do electronic quotes for people who sell short. And, Rich, you may not know this, but you can actually make money off stocks going down. And many people don't know this. It's like that little hidden area of Wall Street. The big banks and the big brokerage firms, they don't even want the little man to know about short selling because
that's their inside baseball.
That's right. And they only want you to know it's buy, buy, buy. And they don't want you to know, hey, there's another way here where you can actually profit if the stock isn't doing good, because when they come out with their research reports, they want you to buy. They don't want you to think you have another option. So I've worked with the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, the U.S. Senate Banking Committee, the House of Representatives Financial Services Committee when it was led by Barney Frank. I've worked in so many capacities around Wall Street, around trading, and my specialty has become, financial technologies, where you could take practical applications for things and put them in a new piece of technology. And about 15 years ago, I became friends with Patrick Byrne, who's the CEO of Overstock.com. And he and I led a massive charge during the banking crisis to work with the government and other regulatory agencies to root out something called naked short selling, where foreign governments were actually manipulating our bank stocks in the U.S. And that relationship turned into be a great friendship. He's a great mentor to me, Dr. Byrne. And then around 2015, he said, hey, Johnny, I think this Bitcoin thing and this blockchain thing is getting pretty serious. And if we apply this to the current stock market, where there's all kinds of inefficiencies, I think we can change the game completely. Started to do a little research, a little homework, and I found out that my good friend Dr. Byrne was onto something, and this cryptocurrency and blockchain was something that I was one of the first adopters on, maybe in the world, along with Dr. Byrne back in late 14, early 15. And I was the vice president of a company called T0, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Overstock.com, focused on blockchain and cryptocurrency.
All right,
and,
so before you go into that, I'm going to ask 3 questions. The first one being, just quickly, because I found it interesting, who were these foreign governments that were manipulating our financial system?
Well, what you need to know is that many foreign governments that don't share our democracy, and I'll give you some hypothetical examples, China, India, Korea, North Korea, they're sovereign funds. These are the funds where all the money they take from underpaying their people and unfairly polluting the universe, and they suck all this money out of their economy and they put it in what they call their sovereign funds. And there were many international sovereign funds like China and like Russia and like Korea and Middle Eastern countries who were finding the opportunity that, hey, if we short sell the American banks and we really depress their prices, people will get nervous. And the more we depress the prices, people might really get scared and run out and try to take their money out of their bank, and that causes a run on the bank. Sure. And there were foreign governments who were trying to act in a way that they would create a run on the bank to cause major catastrophes in the U.S. And look, I did a little bit of work pointing to some things and showing people how this could happen. But the great men and women of our FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice, they went out and did all the hard work. And thankfully, while our system got a jolt and it was almost dead on the table, we were able to resuscitate it. And, America's recovered significantly. But there were bad actors out there that were trying to cause civil unrest by deflating the prices of our stocks.
Yeah, and I asked that somewhat pointedly because we did an episode on China and how nefarious China is in so many of their dealings. And if anybody wants to catch that, you can always go to therichvaldez.com, therichvaldez.com, to find out about previous episodes or some of the articles we're writing, or even the videos, like the video for today's episode with John Tabacco. But the other question I wanted to ask you is, give it in the simplest terms you can. Blockchain 101, explain it to the audience.
So blockchain, it's a decentralized database. So when I use a term like decentralized, right now we have all these computers and computer networks that for governments and municipalities and corporations, where they share all of their information in one database, and then that database is maybe backed up to some disaster recovery. Blockchain creates provenance, so you can know empirically from when a transaction first happened, okay? And it creates a decentralized storage. So every computer that's on a blockchain gets a copy of every transaction that happens on that blockchain. All the details are encrypted. So they use cryptography, like was used in World War II, and in some of these code breaking. They use cryptography to protect your personal information. but the transaction and the record of that transaction is empirically embedded into a ledger, and then a copy of that ledger is shared with millions and millions of computers around the world. So the decentralization starts to eliminate the opportunity for hacking, because the information is not stored in one place. So blockchain is this universal ledger that transactions to exchange assets can happen on from now until the beginning of the time. They call it a blockchain because as transactions are put into the ledger, hey, I just gave Rich $1 and Rich gave me a baseball card. I want to put that on the blockchain because I want to verify the authenticity of this purchase. I bought it for $1 today. Millions of computers around the world get a copy of that transaction. I don't know who it is. I know it's wallet 123579 and wallet 234582. Those are the two wallets, but there was $1 exchange for a baseball card, and that's in the ledger. It's immutable. It's permanent, so it can never be edited without both of those unless both of those parties agree. Hundreds and millions of those transactions pile up. When there's enough to be processed, they get squashed into what's called a block, and that block gets verified by all these computers. So someone goes, hey, John Tabacco wants to sell that baseball card from Rich for $2, okay? So the person with the $2 says, how do I know John has that baseball card? So all these computers go out and verify and say, well, we know there was a transaction where John gave out $1 and got a baseball card. And we know there has been no transactions in John's wallet since then. So millions of computers agree and verify, yes, John has a baseball card. Right. And then I say, hey, I want to make sure this guy has $2. And they say, well, he put in $500 2 months ago and he hasn't done anything since. So he's definitely got $2. If that makes sense to you. And I'm trying to put it in the simplest of forms. And
it sets, I think it sets the table for the introduction of the idea of cryptocurrency.
That's right. And now here's the thing people don't understand. Everyone, and you kind of even did it too, but you know, I try to put it in layman's terms, try to break it down to the simplest of stuff for a 101. The blockchain is the main event. This is a new way of processing transactions, decentralizing the storage of data, and creating an empirical record of every transaction that's done on the blockchain. Cryptocurrencies are a use case.
Like the baseball card.
That's right. So any digital asset that can be identified and recorded in a block can be transferred on a blockchain, right? Now people think, well, Bitcoin is blockchain. It's not. Bitcoin is a digital asset that's a store of value, and it's the value of whatever someone else is going to accept for it. But the blockchain is the place where Bitcoins are traded. That's where they're settled, and that's where the records are kept there. That's the ledger of proof of ownership. It's a real libertarian idea, Rich. Yeah. The whole idea of blockchain and cryptocurrency is to get the government out of our pocketbooks, out of our wallet, decentralize the information, and the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular, which is the most popular right now, the most widely adopted, at least at this point, these are all use cases for the blockchain. And little by little, you're starting to see, you know, Overstock.com back in 2015 was the first U.S. e-commerce company to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. We were one of the earliest adopters, and Dr. Patrick Byrne was a visionary, and he realized that, hey, people are going to start accepting this thing. And he's a big libertarian, not a Republican or a Democrat. He's, you know, a man of the people, a man of the universe. And he said, you know, I want Overstock to be the first company to accept this new form of digital currency. And sure enough, Overstock.com was the first company. And it gave rise to adoption by other companies. I mean, now IBM and, you know, hundreds and thousands of companies are accepting Bitcoin and utilizing blockchain.
Now, with that example, what do you see in the future for Facebook trying to create their or introduce or expand the use of the cryptocurrency that they're proposing?
Well, I don't want to confuse the audience too much because what Facebook is proposing is not really a cryptocurrency. What they're proposing with this Libra coin is called a stable coin. So they're basically saying, hey, you buy $1,000 worth of our Libra coins, and we'll hold the money in a reserve account, and we'll give you what's called a stable coin, which means this digital receipt says you have $1,000 in Facebook's bank account. And then if you want to spend them, okay, like the bank lobby is heavily against this because peer-to-peer processing between regular humans on the blockchain eliminates that 3% merchant processing fee,
right,
which you get hit for on your debit card. So the bank lobby doesn't want peer-to-peer processing. And that's why the bank lobby is saying, hey, Facebook is not a bank. They can't do this because they could see billions and billions of dollars shaved from their bottom line in merchant processing
going
fees
the other way, going
because
through Facebook.
Facebook says, hey, you don't have to use your credit anymore or your credit card anymore. You can use our stable coin. But it's not really a cryptocurrency because cryptocurrencies trade based off a free market. And what they're saying with the Libra coin is that it'll be worth whatever the store of value you have reserved in Facebook's
so whatever you
account.
paid for it in cash
So it's
is how
what
it's
worth.
maintained.
And I think it's scary because, Facebook already has so much access to our data, our information. It's big, way past 1984 stuff from, what's happening now. They have all this private information about us. And now they have our money, and they have it in this supposed crypto, which it's not, okay? It's just giving them money to hold and giving you a way to transact with other Facebook users with less banking fees, which is good. But I think it does get into some really crazy gray areas because it could be if you become an enemy of the state, the government comes looking for you. If you become an enemy of Facebook, they shut you off. So let's say Facebook doesn't like what I'm talking about on Liquid Lunch today, and they decide to go in and shut my bank account off and say, hey, you don't have no more Libra coins. They basically become a big brother in a big way. And try calling Uber one of these days. Try getting a human being on the phone over at Uber one of these days. See how that goes. And once Facebook has already harvested all your data, all your privacy information, where you live, the zip code that you live in, working for a company like Overstock.com in many capacities, this is an online company that relies on search engine optimization to market materials. And I learned so much that, Rich, by capturing someone's IP address. So when you're home, I'm home, we go on our Wi-Fi and we search the web and we go look at something on Overstock.com or one of these other sites. We click, I know you're using the cookies, right? And once they get your IP address, every single one of these major companies takes that IP as a unique, the first time they've seen this IP, right? Immediately, automated, AI, send it out, comes back. You can get up to 700 points of information on someone by having their IP address. Yeah. What are the rates of gun ownership in their zip code? What's the median household income in their zip code? What's the median house price in their zip code? What's the average amount of people in each household? How many cars do they have? What's the average insurance price? Yeah. So how many bank accounts do they have? Do they have a brokerage account? Do they use discount brokers?
It's a marketer's dream.
700 points minimum in a split second come back. So not only does Facebook have that, plus they have all your behaviorisms. They have what you're searching, when you're going on vacation, when you're going to work, when your Easy Pass clicks through a toll. By giving them control of the money flow, I think we're getting into a really scary area where, Facebook could become the enemy of the state.
Right, and they'd have more power over it than we would.
My God, well, so many people trust Facebook with their information already and say, wow, that's a billion-dollar company. Why wouldn't I trust them with $500 and buy their Libra coins? Maybe it'll be good for me. I'll save banking fees. But, you put that across America and you got billions of dollars sitting there. And it's the same thing as a run on a bank. If Facebook goes rogue one day and says nobody can use their Libra money, people are going to be racing for the bathrooms.
Pitchforks.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. I am Rich Valdes. He's John Tabacco. This is America.